The Veg Coach.
Hi everyone, I'm Ellen Jaffe Jones, and I want to talk to you today about strategies to manage stress during the holidays. And I know I'm supposed to be like this close to the camera, but we have a cat who is just walking off the set there. And then Princess, of course, is sitting right behind me, the black lab, and you know that phrase, let sleeping dogs lie. This is like part of the theme of the holidays, is that unexpected stuff is going to happen and you just kind of have to go with the flow. And I hope this will be good for the algorithms if I scoot up close here. And yeah, I got wires hanging, but sometimes it is not a perfect world. And that is just one of the number one things you got to remember, that the holidays are not going to go according to the script. A huge part of understanding how to deal with stress during the holidays is to understand the causes of it. And of course, the number one thing is family, or lack of same. I'm the youngest in my family, and I really don't have any relatives my age or older, especially locally, who are around. So I've been adopted by another family, and that comes with its whole set of issues and complicated problems that have to be dealt with, because at the holidays everybody's there head on, and you either have to just let it go or try and deal with it in the best way you can, especially in our isolated world of Zoom meetings. And what COVID did to our psyches is probably tamp down our desire to be with people because we're afraid of getting sick. And yet, on the other hand, as humans, we have this craving to be together, and sometimes we just don't even have a clue as to what's going to happen when we do get together, because we don't do it that often and we don't necessarily know what to expect. And people change over time. They mature or not, or they regress or not. And you have to deal with the kinds of things that inevitably are going to happen when a larger group of people get together in a small amount of space. Another huge stressor is finances. A lot of people feel compelled, like they have to buy the biggest and the best present for other people, and sometimes they have to manage their own expectations not to necessarily expect that in return. And I go through situations where I'm trying to evaluate what is the best gift I might want to give to my children. And even though one of them is fairly well off, as far as I know, I still feel like maybe they've overcommitted themselves, and possibly the best thing I could really give them is money, even if it's only $50 or $100. Today that doesn't go very far, but you just never know what the future brings. And I just feel like buying something that would either not get used or doesn't have much meaning, it's just not a good use of my money and maybe not as appreciated. But maybe you have ideas of what you think is a meaningful gift, and feel free to drop that in the comments down below. Then the other big stressor is just time, as it always is. Scheduling. When are we going to have a family get together? I know for Thanksgiving we had a situation where there was, we had a child in his 20s coming over with his girlfriend, and then she had her whole family. So I didn't know them, but we invited them over anyway. And so we had basically complete strangers in our home for what was often an intimate holiday. But you just have to kind of leave yourself open to the possibilities, especially if, like me, and maybe you too, are an orphan. And I was an orphan, meaning both of my parents died at a fairly young age. And my mom had Alzheimer's, so she didn't even know what was going on. And so these are the kinds of situations you have to deal with. And you just have to leave yourself open to the possibilities of going with the flow, and make a lot of food if you're the host. And the big cardinal sin is never to run out of food. I'm always heavy on my whole grains like brown rice and millet, quinoa, whatever it is I am making for at the holiday get-togethers. You just have to plan ahead basically as much as you can, and put a smile on your face and carry on. In addition to just scheduling an event together, part of the challenge is just finding time at all. I have 3 daughters, and they are scattered out all over the world: London, LA, and Seattle. So one of them is in the military, so finding a time even to just have a phone call, whether it's a holiday or not, can be a challenge, and you just take what you can get. Last night I had a call with one of my daughters at 10:30 at night my time. It was 7:30 her time, and you just plan to miss that night if you had other plans, because nothing really is more important if you're a parent in connecting with a child, especially if they're taking the initiative and making the plans. Strategy number 1 of managing the holiday stress is planning and organization. And how do you do that? Well, I was sharing with someone back in the day when I first started running, I would take an old-fashioned pen and paper and write down the miles that I thought I ran on a daily basis. Well, today we have these wonderful apps on our smartphones that help us to keep track. And I'm a big believer of KISS. Keep it simple, stupid, or keep it simple and stupid. I don't mean to say that anybody is stupid out there, but somebody came up with that acronym to just try and communicate the idea that you don't have to overplan and overthink this. Now, there are some apps with to-do lists, and if you're good at toggling back and forth, knock yourself out if you want to use some of those apps. But the thing that I use the most in my iPhone, and I presume that all the other phones out there have a similar app called Notes. And any random thought I have is in Notes. But the cool thing about it is I can do a search of to-do list, and it will pull up every time I've ever written the word to-do list. I can make new to-do lists. I can add to old to-do lists. Generally, I make new ones because what's the point of going backwards in time? And with this great feature, which also allows you to take pictures if you want to, you can incorporate those into your notes. Staying organized, having that to-do list first and foremost in your mind and on electronic paper can help you from going down rabbit holes where you get distracted and you don't get things accomplished you really need to accomplish. Just for fun, I will go to a grocery store the night before a holiday just to see what the feeding frenzy is like, and there is some kind of holiday spirit if you are in a public place. Maybe it's because we are meant to assemble in groups and have that group think, group energy. I also find that at races that I run, but I can also find it at the grocery store where everybody's running around like a mad woman trying to get those things. But if you don't enjoy that experience, and maybe over time you don't, keeping a list, keeping yourself organized of what you want to do and when is really critical. I used to do a lot of sailing in my younger years, and I still do if I have time and resources, but as I was fond of telling the captain, just tell me what to do and when, and that keeps us all going toward the same goal, the same target, and so it is with organizing your life. And it allows you to plan ahead, and you can figure out which day you need to have something done by so that at the last minute you're not at the store going, feels like I'm forgetting something. Just try and stay organized. It gives you something to do anyways, to put it all into one list or several lists. And don't be afraid to delegate. If you have people in your life who can stop and get something on the way home, maybe that's it for you. Or maybe you can still order online different things that will get here by Christmas or whatever target date you're trying to plan on. And I did that just today. I ordered something that I knew was going to come tomorrow. I really wanted it today, but I just didn't feel like going out to the store and dealing with the traffic. You just have to evaluate which methods work best for you. Strategy number 2 for trying to deal with stress around the holidays is setting realistic expectations. The art of saying no is one of the most challenging skills we as humans need to develop. But sometimes we feel guilty that we're not saying yes to everything. And you just have to prioritize. And some things you just have to say no to. And that way you're not disappointing yourself and you're not disappointing others, because they probably will find someone else who can do the task. Trust me on that. If it's important enough, they will. If it's a holiday gathering that you're planning, don't be afraid to ask people to bring a dish. That way they have buy-in, they feel like they're doing something, and they might even be bringing something that you wouldn't want to prepare or hadn't even thought of preparing. Then they bring it, and then they can share. Even if you like, have people bring recipes. It becomes more of a resource giving of ideas rather than focusing on the material gifts. Strategy number 3 in dealing with holiday stress is prioritizing self-care. Now, what does that look like? Doesn't mean you're going to just check out and see y'all on January 2nd, but sometimes we may feel that way, and recognizing those feelings is important to just not being too hard on yourself and accomplishing whatever you can do. Just make sure that you are staying with your usual routines of meditation, exercise, or sticking with a hobby. And a hobby might even be making some kind of gift for people who come to your get-together, or if you're going somewhere else. It's an inexpensive way of doing things. I have a neighbor who makes and sells things on Etsy, and don't be surprised if you're a neighbor and you get one of those things. So people have different ways and different financial resources, and you can look at yourself and evaluate what is the most important thing I can give this holiday season. It may not be something material. It's really important to keep up your exercise routine, just because as we go to parties, and they seem to be increasing as we get toward the end of the year, you know, it's just much sugar at these events. And you might want to stay on a vegan diet if you are vegan, and especially if you're in it for the animals and the lifestyle, and it's not just a diet, it actually is a lifestyle. It can be frustrating sometimes to go to parties, and we went to one recently where there was a woman who she's in a cake making business, and she says, "Oh, I have something here that's dairy free, no milk." And I go, "Does it have eggs?" And she goes, "Yeah." And it's like, you know, you don't want to be rude, but against whatever thing you fall back on to saying, like, "Oh, my doctor says I really can't eat anything with cholesterol in it, it's for my heart." You know, I won't say excuse, because it's not an excuse, it's your reason for being the person you are, and you're going to get thrown all these kinds of challenges, and it's going to be stressful during the holiday season. But just knowing what you're going to say, knowing what your comeback is in a nice, polite way is really important. Kind of rehearse it, even if you need to do that. Strategy number 4 in dealing with holiday stress is mindfulness and relaxation techniques. Now, whatever this looks like for you, it's all good, whatever works for you. If you have something already that you use, feel free to inject it even more as you go through some of the stressful situations that you do. If you don't, some simple things are just like closing your eyes, taking a deep breath, and then letting it all out. You can even make that sound. You can put 2 fingers between your nose, the bridge of your nose, and that helps to relax people sometimes. Or just throwing your shoulders back. You know, we're so hunched over on these computers, and just opening up your rib cage, your diaphragm. For those of you who are singers, just things like that. Now, if you're in public and you don't want to make a public spectacle, just, you know, closing your eyes briefly, counting to 10, things like that that help you focus, rather than wish you had like something to throw at someone who's being rude in the checkout line. It's just not worth it. Just not worth getting stressed about something that's external, something that you can't control. The Serenity Prayer is always a good one to have plastered on your refrigerator this time of year. You know, control the things you can, and have the wisdom to know the difference of the things that you cannot control. A really bad paraphrase of that, but just Google it. I have it cut out and posted on my fridge, and I refer to it often. Strategy number 5, seeking support. So that involves just hanging out with others, friends, hopefully you have a few, or your family if you have family, or just volunteering at some organization that could use your help. To recap, strategies for managing stress during the holiday season: planning and organization. Come up with some kind of way to stay on task. Number 2 strategy, setting realistic expectations. Don't be too hard on yourself or others, and just remember it'll be a new year soon. Strategy number 3, prioritizing self-care. Don't forget to stay on track with your exercising and meditating and whatever it is you do to calm yourself down. Also, there's going to be plenty of time to overeat if that's what you're going to be doing on certain days, and just know that a lot of weight gain happens during this time of year, so be mindful of that and try to eat something before you go out to try and mitigate the massive weight gain that so many people do experience during the holidays. Strategy number 4, mindfulness and relaxation techniques. That can just be breathing, deep breathing, counting, whatever it is that works for you. Don't let your emotions get the best of you, especially in the checkout lines. Strategy number 5, seeking support. You know, it's normal to feel overwhelmed with stress this time of year, so don't be too hard on yourself. If you have some techniques and ways that you have developed over the years to deal with the stress, you want to talk about the specific kind of stress, just know that we're all ears here, happy to listen and give you feedback if that works for you. In the meantime, I want to wish you a happy and healthy, joyful holiday season, and if need be, just go outside and go for a walk, go for a run, and let it all go. All right, everyone. See you in the next one. Gotta run.